What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo here with Chris Etherington, taking a look at the WGC Mexico picks on DraftKings. Checking out your core picks for this week, but also touching on a couple other guys. And this week, another interesting week because there's no cut line.
Yeah, so this week, with it being no cut, you can go a little aggressive for this week. Maybe pick no more than 20 guys in your player pool if you were doing a multi-entry. As far as the number of players for the course, you got 77. So they have the pricing very tight. So you kind of need to pick maybe two guys at the top at the most, maybe three, and then just move down the list and just basically keep with your stats that you like to look at week to week, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and you brought this to my attention. I mean, no one's played here before. This is the first time that anyone's going to be playing on this course.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be the first time that everyone is going to see the course. As of right now, no one knows what to do as far as stats. For me personally, I'm going to look at GIR percentage and driving accuracy. From the pictures that I've seen on the course, it looks like it's tree line style, and I think people are going to overlook that. They're just going to see the driving distance and just basically just go towards the driving distance guys, and hopefully with just going to driving accuracy and hitting the greens, that will be my edge to hopefully beat the other guys this week.
Yeah, and this week, I mean, no other concerns here, no cut line. And this week, I mean, the field as far as kind of stars last week was a little bit lackluster. This week's a little bit different. We do have the big bombers in there.
Yeah, this week you got Justin Johnson as your new number one player in the world. He's at the top. He is normally the guy that I will pick each week, but being that there's no cut, I kind of think that people are just going to gravitate toward him. And I think his ownership is going to probably be in the 40% plus range. And if that's the case, then I think I'm going to have to fade him for the week. It's pain me to say it, but I just can't play a guy at the top who I think the field is going to play better. And with the ownership, with the public, I cannot choose a guy that's going to be 40% plus.
And there's a lot of guys in this 9K range that I like quite a bit, and a couple of guys that are, also at the top, but just, 1,000 or 2,000 cheaper. I mean, you got Spieth there, who was 1,000 cheaper, and a guy that you wrote up, Henrik Stenson, who's, about 2K cheaper.
Yeah, Stenson, for me, is probably the one guy I'm going to go to at the start. He is very consistent with his irons and also off the tee. He's hitting the greens at 80% and also driving accuracy around 80%. And with this recent form, he has 5 top 10s in his last 5 starts. So with him being only the fifth highest price, I think he's going to get overlooked. And if his ownership is going to be around 20% or less, then I'm going to go towards him and start building my lineups around him.
And I think that's going to be the case. I mean, I just imagine, as you said, DJ is going to carry a lot of ownership. Spieth should. Matsuyama being right there in price as well is probably going to carry some higher ownership too, just solely based off name.
Yeah, those 3 guys right there, they're, like you said, they're going to get a lot of attention for the week. If you want to get creative, probably go to McIlroy. He's coming off of a rib injury. He was sidelined for 6 weeks. I'd be a little afraid of that with no recent form to go off of. So if you want to get a stab of a guy, that'll be the one person that I would be looking to instead of the other three.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I was, the injury and coming back off of that, and I believe he's been down here this past week already.
He was playing golf with President Trump last week. So from what I heard, that he is not injured while swinging. So for me, there's really no concern to play the guy, especially if there's no cut.
Yeah, that's true as well. I mean, you're not really worried about him. Obviously, you'd be worried about him blowing up at that price, but missing a cut, you're not worried about this week. 9K range, I mean, you don't talk about anyone here in your article, but there are a couple big names. Ricky Fowler, last week's winner, Adam Scott, John Rahm, Justin Thomas, and Rahm's the cheapest he's been, over the last 4 or 5 events here. Yeah,
Rahm's the guy that basically he is the mini Justin Johnson at this point. With his recent form, he did win the Farmers a couple weeks ago, and then outside of that, he's had a top 10 in his last event, which was the Pebble Beach. So, being at 9K, if he can continue on to that train, then he'll meet value, and he's probably going to be popular. But if he's around 20%, that's okay.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I mean, he could end up panning out to be one of those guys where you don't want to fade. If he's coming top 10 this week at that price tag, I mean, you'd be in trouble if he's not in your lineup.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's truly on form right now, and being as cheap as he is, it's going to be hard for me to fade him for the league.
Yeah, me as well. And some of the other guys, I mean, 8K range. I mean, Garcia, Thomas, Woodland, Hatton. Do these guys intrigue you at all?
Yeah, I like actually all three. For Garcia and Hatton, they're both hitting the greens in the mid 70s, like around 75%. Garcia has the distance as well, and he's also very accurate. Like he's always been pretty good tee to green. It's just his putter. For Hatton, he's one of those unknowns. So he'll be little owned, but because of last week, people are going to probably pick him over Gary Woodland and hopefully Jason Duffner.
Yeah, and Duffner's a guy that you wrote up in your article this week. Him and Steele at a similar price tag. Steele, rocky start last week, but overcame it and ended up paying off that price tag.
Yeah, kudos for Steele. Normally, what happened to Steele, most guys would probably WD or just call it quits and just play the 2 rounds and go home. But Steele actually came back. He made the cut, and then he was actually playing well on Sunday, and he finished inside the top 15 for the week. So, I mean, props to him for actually sticking it out. So I'm right back to him at 7,900. Same reason as the other times I played him. He's very consistent. And for Duffner, he hasn't played much this year so far, but in his last 2 events, he finished 14th last week and 25th prior to that. So I think with him being around the one of the popular names, he's going to be overlooked, I think, for this week.
Yeah, I think so too. And, I think looking at some of these guys in this range, those 2 are definitely your safer options. And Zach Johnson's been playing pretty well. We don't have a Charles Howell this week, so there's no plug and play like we have been over the last few weeks, but there's plenty of guys along those same kind of price tags.
Yeah, with this being a basically a studded field, you're going to get Sack, Snedeker, Paul Casey, Reed, all at cheaper value than what we are used to paying for them. So if you're looking into the ownership, basically the games vary for the week. I would probably gravitate one of those 4 or 5 guys in the mid sevens that could be overlooked as well.
Yeah, two guys that kind of caught my eye. Kevin Na at 7,100. I mean, playing really well, and at a cheaper price tag. And I think with a lot of the stars up there at that price, I don't mind tossing him in this week.
Yeah, he's actually getting really consistent right now. His iron game is getting into form. He's hitting close to 70% of the greens, and with this course, I mean, it doesn't really matter if he's short off the tee or not. He's going to find the fairway and really hit those greens, and then hopefully his putter is on form, and maybe he'll get you a top 10 or something like that for the week.
Yeah, we have a couple. I mean, a couple of bigger names. Bubba Watson, 7K. You look at Phil Mickelson at 7,600. I mean, big names for guys that are priced below 8K. But I don't believe they're catching really your eye this week, are they?
Not really. Like I'm going to look into Phil a little bit for this week, just to see what the other guys are talking about. For Watson, I'm just going to stay away. There is actually a rumor, whether it's true or not, that he could be a little bit injured. He's just not really saying it, but he's still playing, which could be the reason why he's not playing as much this year, and could be also a reason why he's not contending as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to keep an eye on. I think he's one of those guys too, where it's just you stay away until you see some sort of form.
Right, exactly. He maybe he'll turn it around by Augusta, but as of right now, he's just a guy that I'm just going to fade for the week.
And the guy that you talked about a little bit before while we were talking, Danny Will at 6,700. I mean, you didn't have a lot of names below 7K that you were looking at, but he was the only one that was really a standout.
Yeah, I think this is the misprice for him. Danny Willett is the guy who should be up there around Garcia range, around like mid 8,000, or maybe closer to John Rahm. There's really no reason for Willett to be down here. He's one of the world class players. He's hitting his greens close to 70%. And if you look at his recent form, he didn't play well at the Honda, but before that he was fifth. He did okay in Dubai, but I can see that he's actually playing well. He's more mannered on the course, so maybe that has something to do with it. But there's just no reason for him to be in the 6,000 range at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, where do you see his ownership given the fact that he is priced like that?
I would say that he's probably going to be I would say around 15%. Normally, people in the 6,000 range don't get higher than maybe 10, but with Willett, people are going to see that name and they're going to gravitate towards him. So I would say probably closer to 15.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think unless some sort of, unless he's just being touted all over the place, I think that's basically where he's going to be at this week.
Yeah, with him being above like Vegas, above a couple of people that people haven't even heard of yet, they're just going to see him and then they'll just basically all click and just move on.
Anyone else you feel like we glossed over here that you wanted to talk about?
The one guy that I do like, he played well on Sunday. Is Jonathan Vegas. He's right under there, right under Danny Willett. I think he's going to be the perfect punt if for a guy down here. Being right beside Willett, so he could be overlooked, maybe like 5-7% owned, if I had to guess. With his iron game and his distance, there's really no reason for me to not to play him. Basically, he is getting into form, and hopefully, with his form on Sunday, he'll carry that over for this week.
Yeah, he's been really good. I mean, really over the last, this year basically. His only, down, tournament was the Tournament of Champions. Outside of that, he's been really solid.
Yeah, he's been really solid for the entire year so far. So I'm just going to keep playing him, basically, until I see otherwise.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Who's your top guy and dark horse for this week as far as winners go?
So my top guy, I'm going to have to go with it's basically between Stenson and Spieth for me. Right now I'm going to have to go with Stenson. My gut feeling is Stenson for the week.
Dark horse?
My dark horse for the week, I would say Martin Keimer, down there at 7,500. If it wasn't for a few putts that he missed on the weekend, he might have overtaken Ricky last week. So with that in mind, and with a no cut, and with him being very consistent with his irons, I think he's going to be a good dark horse for the week.
Yeah, I think, could fly under the radar as well, obviously, even though coming off a strong week last week.
Yeah, he's right up there between Phil, who's always popular. He's above Ryan Moore. So Ryan Moore and Phil are going to get most of the ownership, and I think Keimer, like you said, will be overlooked.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to check out, and you break down Keimer a little bit more in your article, alongside with your other picks. I mean, Stenson, Duffner, Steele. You talk about your exposure and a little bit of what to look for this week. So if you want to check out Chris's article, you can head on over to Dave Fantasy Cafe, and good luck this week.